Hi everyone, let's talk renter's insurance today. So proof of renter's insurance is typically required when you sign a lease on a new apartment or rental home. Your landlord has insured the property itself, but you need to insure your personal property. You are wanting to protect yourself from incidents that are beyond your control that can damage or have a complete loss with all of your property. Before moving into your apartment, it's really important that you take an inventory of all of your personal items and property so that you can get the right coverage needed. So you may be wondering, why do you need renter's insurance? Well, like I just mentioned, renter's insurance will protect you from unpredictable catastrophes like fire or flooding. Well, not necessarily flooding, we'll talk about that in a minute, but burglary, etc. The landlord will cover the building itself, but again, you need to have your own personal possessions covered. You might be living with 2 or 3 other roommates, and they may say, well, just get on our policy. That isn't always the best option, only because if one of them decide to file more claims, that means your rate will be increased. So it's best for you to have your own personal renter's insurance for your personal property. And renter's insurance overall is pretty affordable. On average, it's about $17. And that will protect up to $50,000 in assets. And that's more than enough for you, especially as a college student. The further understanding, to understand renter's insurance, there are a number of different key terms that you will want to become familiar with. And I have a comprehensive list of those below this presentation. But basically, some of the terms are grouped into categories. One of coverage definition terms, reimbursement definition terms, and policy terms. Coverage definition terms such as your personal possessions and liability protection, reimbursement such as appraisal and home inventory that we talked about, and policy terms such as your premium and deductible. So again, below this video, you'll find a comprehensive list, and it is your responsibility to become familiar with it so you get the right policy that protects you accurately. So as mentioned earlier, renter's insurance covers for damage done to your property caused by certain events. Most policies also include renter's liability insurance. So that's important because if someone's injured on your property, your insurance coverage will protect you and cover court costs should you be sued. Sometimes you may also have no-fault medical coverage, which is great because, again, if someone does try to sue you for an incident that occurred on your property, you are best protected. And finally, renter's insurance policy will likely have additional coverage, which is called additional living expenses. And this is really key to have because if your apartment or your home rental is damaged by fire, you will be displaced. And so your insurance will cover additional living expenses that you will incur until you're able to move back to your primary property. So again, for such an affordable cost, renter's insurance is really a huge benefit to have. So as much as we want to know what it covers, it's equally important to know what renter's insurance does not cover. And basically, renter's insurance does not cover floods or earthquakes. So if you live in a flood zone or if you're in an area where you are likely to have earthquakes, you will have to take out additional insurance to cover those catastrophes. So make sure you're aware of that. Make sure you are aware if you live in a flood zone so that you are properly insured. Now, if you're wondering which insurance company is the best or which one you should go with, you really can't go wrong with any of them. So the ones that you see on the slide here, you may have heard of or become familiar with, or maybe you have a vehicle and it's already insured by an insurance company. You may want to look to them to have your renter's insurance. You might even be able to save that much more money as well because you can have multiple policies under one roof. So that's something to consider. So let's look at a scenario that really helps to emphasize the importance of having renter's insurance. So in this scenario, Chris, Excel, and AJ decide to move out of the dorms and get an apartment together. Now Chris, after talking to an insurance agent, he decides to go ahead and get renter's insurance for all of his belongings. As you can see listed here, he has itemized his clothes, his college books, and other supplies and furniture. You can see Excel and AJ have done the same thing. So their actual cash value, as you can see, is pretty high, between $10,000 and $16,000. Now in this scenario, the three of them go to work for ITA, and while they're away, there's a grease fire in their kitchen, and it completely ruins everything in their apartment. Because Chris took out insurance and pays a low deductible, he is able to get a check for $10,525, which fully covers all that he's lost in the fire. Unfortunately, because Excel and AJ decided not to, they will get zero. They are not covered, which is really difficult to anyone in any given situation, but especially as a college student, you don't really have a lot of extra money, and especially looking at what their cash value is, $10,000 and $16,000, they are not able to immediately replace those items lost in the fire. So again, renter's insurance will protect you for those situations that happen that you just can't anticipate. Very important to have it. So briefly, let's recap. You've learned about renter's insurance, you've learned what it is, and you have access to all the terminology so you can select the right policy that's for you. Renter's insurance, again, is pretty affordable, so about $17 on average, and it'll cover up to $50,000 of total assets. Most landlords now will require you to have it before you are able to get a lease. And again, understanding those renter insurance key terms will help you to be best prepared for the unexpected.